Okay, welcome back to the 1090 podcast. I'm here with Marc, Cram, um, and it's gonna be a brutal episode. I'm gonna start with reading Beckham's obituary,
Okay.
and then we'll get into it. And these are hard to read, and so, sorry, I mean no offense. So here we go. Beckham Roland Cram, November 23rd, 2010 to May 26, 2024. Our football loving, positive thinking, happy go lucky best friend returned home to his Heavenly Father on Sunday, May 26, 2024. Beckham Roland Cram was born on November 23, 2010, to his parents Marc Cram and Morgan Walker. He was the baby of their family, and he took advantage of every single moment of it. His infectious smile lightened any room he walked into, and his world-class hugs left an impression long after they were done. He was Dad's ride or die and Mama's boy and cuddler. Beckham was a boy who loved to love. He constantly told everyone how much he loved them and would regularly ask how they were doing. He often showed his love by carrying groceries without even being asked to. He was thrilled with any gift he ever received. Sports were his passion in life, whether he was playing basketball on a toddler hoop or tackling someone on the football field. He had a natural athletic ability, but worked hard to take it to the next level. There was a football in his hands at all times, and he was ready for any pickup game. Mom and Dad were always so proud watching him play. Though his life was short, it was full. He lived every day as if it were a party, and he found the positive in every situation. He lifted everyone he came in contact with. While we miss him terribly on this side, we know he is the best guardian angel on the other side. We will now spend our lives learning to be like Beck, smiling everywhere we go, expressing our love freely, and by choosing to live life to the fullest. His regular swag was any type of jersey, a hoodie, shorts, and leggings with his beloved Jordans. Yes, this is my type of kid right here. This is good. Anything he wore was drippy. His hairstyle was a new monthly surprise to even his parents. In honor of his style, we would love everyone attending his celebration of life to wear their favorite shoes. Aw. I did the same thing with Riggins. Beckham is survived by his mom, Morgan Walker, his dad, Marc Cram, step-parents Holly Cram and Cody Burnham, brothers Boston, Bruin, Crew, Cash, sister Ashton, grandparents Mark and Robin Cram, and Michael and Michelle Walker. A celebration of life will be held on Sunday, June 2nd at the Experience Event Center at 1440 Moon River Drive. What position in football did he play?
He was a cornerback and a receiver.
So
Just
he
a little
had,
guy.
I'm just picturing him with the drip and the cornerback and the receiver. Like, yeah, really? Yeah, like I can picture it now.
Just a little guy.
Should be a good one. Life's 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're going to do about it. Welcome back to the 1090 podcast, where life's 10% what happens to you, 90% what you're going to do about it. Marc, thanks for coming on, man.
Dude, thanks for the opportunity, man. I appreciate it.
Beckham passed away not too long ago.
Yeah, just a little over 7 months, 223 days.
That's obviously that's really fresh. How do you explain yourself being able to talk about it so quickly and willingly want to talk about it?
You know, I obviously, as you know, Mason, it's when it first happened, your head's spinning and it's been a process of just really settling into why and at this point, 7 months into it, I want to talk about it as much as I can. It's my son didn't die in vain, and it's a big responsibility of mine to live his legacy and take what he taught us and pass it on, and really just, if I could be 100% honest, that he passed away for us to change the world, and so to be able to do that, I want to tell his story, and really just like um, do what I can do to live his legacy.
Um, well, thanks for coming on. I know it's not easy to talk about, especially it's hard to find guys. Like, I think it's just hard for guys to really be vulnerable and just admit how broken you are.
Yeah.
Like, and that's really what the feeling is you're just completely lost and broken. At least that was a feeling for me. Where do you want to start with your story? Do you want to start the good times before the accident or day of, or
Yeah,
where do you want to start with
that's
this?
great. Let's start with who Beck was. Like, yeah, he died when he was 13. Just, there's this joke at our house that right when he was about to go into 7th grade and it goes from 1 class to 8 classes, he's like, dude, I'm out, man. That's too much work. Like, everywhere there was fun, that's where he was. Just literally always a smile on his face, candy wrappers in his pocket, and just like always wanted to have fun. And some of the things I remember about Beck is Beck was a cool kid, but he often taught that it was cool to be kind, and he was just constantly meeting new people and just trying to get the best out of them. And so many awesome things about him. My favorite, like, always expressed his love. He was so good every day at giving me a hug, kiss on the head, telling me he loved me before he went to bed, when he woke up. That's what the day of his passing looked like. And so just never missed an opportunity to share how he felt. And because of that, just like, and you probably remember this, like, he was awesome. I knew he was awesome. He was my best bud, like literally my best freaking friend. But as he passes and people start to share all of these things that he did for them, or their kids, like, it's like, man, this guy was freaking a legend, man. Like, he was doing some really amazing things, and I just feel so privileged to carry that on.
Yeah. It's like, how do you explain? I don't even know you. Like, I just met you an hour ago, basically.
Yeah.
But, like, you seem like a very family number one type of guy and love your kids. And Beckham was your best friend. Um, how do you feel? Like, even though you had a good relationship with him, what's it like losing him? Because I, I don't know. Before the car accident with my family, I used to think maybe like lessons needed to be learned with grief when I was so ignorant to everything. But like, I was a good dad. I loved my kids more than that was my life. But still losing them. Well, I'm going to let you answer. So back to my question for you.
Yeah.
Like, you got this right. Like, family's number one. You still lose a child. Can you explain what it's like, even though you had a good relationship with him, like the difference of him being gone?
Yeah. So I believe in God and have a great relationship with him, and throughout my life, divorce and mixed families, and my wife been through some crazy things in her life, just lots of opportunities. And I had, for the last 10 years, had so many conversations with God where it was like, dude, like, you're hitting me with, this is before Beck passed, like, you're coming at me. Like, I'm going to learn the lessons. Obviously it's for a reason, but like, you're coming at me. Give me whatever you got, but please, please don't take my kids. Like, please don't take my kids. So many conversations, probably 30, 40, 50 conversations where it's like, I can take on anything, but don't take my kids. And here we are, the one that I love every one of my kids, the one that I connected with the most because of the same type of beliefs or the things we love to do. Is
Hobbies.
Beck, man. He was my guy. Like, coached football and basketball teams, spent a lot of time together. And so he took God, and at this point I don't feel like God took him, but at that time I'm like, dude, this is the one conversation we had. And as you know, Mace, like there's absolutely no way to describe it. It is the all these other trials, they don't hold a candle to what it's like to lose your son, especially when, man, going through my divorce and getting remarried and just all these things. Like, he was such a home space for me, like he was just such a center. Like, shit could be hitting the fan and I just had to take 5 minutes with Beck, and it was like, okay, we're fine. And that was the end of it, man. And that, it ripped my soul out for sure. At the same time, I decided that wasn't going to be the end of it with him. And so one of the most important parts of my day every day is I speak to him multiple times a day. And right before I go to bed, I go on a walk out in nature and raise my head to the heavens and say, all right, bro, like, what are we talking about today? And honestly, it would blow your mind what he teaches me. But grief is it's a lot of things, man, as you know. And I am very intentional with my grief and how I learned something very early on, and that was when you're going into grief, give it 10 minutes, take it as deep as you can. You got to feel it to heal it. And so when you're feeling it, take it as deep as you can, take it there for 10 minutes, and then shift your perspective from the pain to the purpose. And that has been a huge help for me. But losing him was the single greatest fear that I could have. I mean, I had multiple conversations like, dude, don't do it.
You ever feel like weirded out by that? Like, this is the one thing I didn't ask for and now it happened. And do you ever play those mind games? Like, did it happen? Because do you ever do that to yourself?
I played, I've my mind's gone to a lot of places, but where it settled into is it's exactly what was supposed to happen. It's exactly what, when, and how. And I could spend the next 5 hours telling you exactly why. But yeah, my mind's gone there quite a few times. That's part of the grief. You have to take yourself to the anger and the pain and the sorrow and all the different things. But when it comes full circle, when I'm in my true authenticity and I'm understanding, it's like it happened the right time, the right place, and when it was supposed to.
Can we go to that day?
Day of? Yeah, of course.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, and I've done lots of work to understand Beckham's perspective and my perspective, because my perspective was it was a typical day. I wake up, I do my breath work, I go into my office at home and do my my daily routine. And once he wakes up, he comes in and he gives me a hug, tells me he loves me, asks me how I slept. Typically by then his 7-year-old brother is up and he's watching YouTube football, and he goes in there and he watch. Very typical day. And I'm in the office still, and we have this awesome schedule set up, and Beck walks in and says, Cash, it's his younger brother. He's like, Cash, do you want to go swim? And Cash never says no. Never says no. But Cash that day was like, no, I'm going to stay and watch football. So Beck says, okay, puts on his shorts, goes into the pool, which he's done 50 times by himself, and he's swimming in the pool. I end up leaving. I take my older son, Boston, to go to his mom's house to grab a suit for church. We stop off at Walgreens and we're on our way back. And when walk into the house. My daughter's walking in or running into the house from the deck crying. And I'm like, oh man, who pissed her off? And then I walk out onto the deck and you just like, he's out there. My neighbor's trying to resuscitate him. At that point, the paramedics are just getting there. And I'm just like, what is happening? So I throw my stuff on the ground and I run down and I kneel next to him and I grab him by the hand and I'm just like, bro, like, don't you dare freaking give up, dude. Like keep fighting. You keep freaking fighting. And that goes on for 10 to 15 minutes and we're just like, come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Paramedics are doing everything they can. They pop him up on the the chair and take him to the hospital. And we get to the hospital and they work on him for another 10 to 15 minutes. And, you never forget it when the doctor just kind of calms everybody down and says, we're going to shut it down. Like he's not coming back. And so for us, during that whole process, it was, as you know, dude, it's pure chaos. It's pure chaos. Like every emotion you can possibly feel and think of and just all the different places that your mind, your body, your spirit take you. That was my, that's how I remember it.
There's parts for me, like the night with my family that are vivid, like I'll never forget them. And then there's just spots where I don't remember anything. Yeah. What are some of for the moments of Beckham being in the pool and you're like by his side to the hospital? Like, what are some moments that that are really vivid for you?
Like holding his hand the entire time and just over and over, dude. Like there wasn't a single moment where I was like, he's gonna go. I'm like, dude, this is like it. So I'm kneeling there fighting.
So you were confident he's gonna be okay?
Yeah, dude. 2 weeks ago, I actually did a journey, and it was actually the very first time 7 months into it where I accepted that he wasn't coming back. I thought he was gonna wake up off the table. I thought he was gonna come busting out of the casket. I thought that he was gonna show up I'm just like, dude, this guy's a freaking fighter, man. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. And so what I remember specifically is kneeling next to him, holding his hand, and just saying, like, bro, like, you freaking take that breath. That's what I remember the most.
You remember what other people were doing?
I mean, I had my neighbor, because my wife started resuscitating and had my daughter chase after someone that knew what they were doing, and they found my neighbor. My neighbor came, and so as I kneeled next to him, he was removing himself, and the paramedics were starting to take over. So I just remember, like, the paramedics just putting their hearts and souls into saving him. So I just remember how grateful I was that these guys were, like, doing everything they could to try to save my son.
Did you take the ambulance with him?
Mm-mm. No, we followed right behind.
You followed behind him? And so when you were told, so you're going to the hospital with confidence still, like he's going to pull through?
Yes.
Do you think that was, what do you chalk that up to? Just like denial at the time, or just like shock? Like there's just no way this is even happening? But like when you're told at the hospital, like he's gone, like you go from being hopeful to obviously trying to accept this news. What was that moment like for you?
To answer your first question, like, I have all these last 17 years been big into affirmations. And so for me, it's like, I've seen so many situations in my life where I created it here and then it happened here. And so I'm like, dude, so I'm getting in my truck. Holly, my wife, is just in pure shock. She doesn't even know she has shoes on. She doesn't know what's going on. And I'm like, babe, let's go. Like, grab your shoes, grab your sweatshirt. He's going to be fine. Let's go. Like, let's get there. And so I mean, gosh, dude, of course they're shocked. But for me, like, if I could really settle into it, like, I was completely convinced God had heard my ask, like, dude, give me anything, but don't take this. Because my son, my older son, he was in the hospital 10 days before Beckham in a coma for 4 months, or excuse me, for 4 days. We're no like stranger to kids, going through stuff. I'm just like, okay, this is just another lesson. But where my head was, even after they had pronounced him that he was gone, I was like, dude, he's gonna take his next breath. There's no question in my mind.
Yeah, I even remember it'd be like weeks after the accident, and people would walk in the door, like in the room, and I'd be like, "Oh,
Oh
it's
yeah.
court,"
Oh yeah.
and I'm like, and it just had to
Oh
take
yeah.
my brain, like,
Mm-hmm.
she's not here, they're not here.
Yeah.
Like my physical body was just used to them, and
Yeah.
I think that denial and shock, like even your body is going through the changes of them not being here, and they're no longer the faces you see and the voices you hear. They're not here anymore, and I think that's a big reason why denial and shock can stick with you for so long. Is it's not just your spirit and your mind and your memories; it's your physical body and your
Yeah.
day to day too.
Yeah.
And you have to get all those facets to accept, like, yeah, like they're gone.
Dude, it happened to me just last night. I was at Sky Zone in Saratoga Springs, and I walked past these kids playing basketball. And for a split
Mm-hmm.
second, I'm like, in fact, I pulled my camera out. I'm like, I got to take a video of this kid. He literally is a spitting image of Beck. But for the first
Yeah,
half second, I'm like,
yeah.
just that, you know what it is.
No, I mean that happened. I was me, Sammy, and Blue were hiking, and I heard a little girl say to someone else, "Daddy,"
Mm,
and it just for a second there, I'm like wanted to. Oh, it's Frank,
yeah.
and like no, it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
Frankie. I mean that's what happens to me 3 years later. What happened to your other kid in the coma?
So he's diabetic. He's had it since he was 16 months. He's had 50, 60 seizures. Typically we give him his shot and he comes right out of it. This time he didn't come out of it. And he was, I mean, I can tell you what I think. I've learned so much since Beckham's passing, but he was in he was in a diabetic coma. That's what it was. Beck was by his side the whole time. I feel strongly about why that happened, and then Beckham passed. But that's why Boston was there, is he was in there for a diabetic coma.
Can I just clarify? Are you married at the time when Beckham passes away?
Yeah, so I've been married for almost 10 years,
Okay.
but not to Beckham's mom. So I'm remarried.
Okay. And so when you say your wife was performing CPR,
Mm-hmm.
that would be a stepmom.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know if this is the best point of the podcast to ask this, but I'm just going to ask it before I forget, because I think this can be helpful for parents who have been divorced, losing a child. I don't know what it's like to be divorced. Maybe you have a great divorce relationship. Maybe
It's pretty good. Yeah.
yeah, I have no
Yeah.
idea,
Yeah.
but I think it's something I should ask. I think it'd be hard for people who've been divorced and then a kid dies to get mad at the ex-husband or
Sure.
wife.
Sure.
I just wanted to ask, like, you were watching him, he was with you. Like,
Yeah.
was
Great
that ever
question.
a thing,
It's a
or
great
how did you
question.
guys work through that?
That's a great question, man. And the answer to that question is, I can't imagine being Morgan and not being there, because how could you not ask the question, like, who the hell was watching him? And so before she even approached me, I had a conversation with her where I was like, Morg, I can't imagine, like, how you must feel. And there's probably going to be times in your grieving process where you literally are so pissed that somebody wasn't watching him. And I want you to know that when you go through that, like, I'm here to hold that space, because you deserve, you have every right to be pissed about that. And she's handled it, that piece of it, super well. But yeah, we had that conversation, because I can't imagine being the one that was like, how are you not watching him? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you're at the hospital. You're told that he's passed away, and then what? I mean, it's been 7 months since then. Is all, dude. I can't. I just was in a hole for 7 months after. I couldn't even talk to anyone. How do you explain your journey from being told in the hospital that Beckham's gone to where you're at now? I feel like something happened to you before Beckham's passing. You kind of seem like you're in this spiritual headspace before Beckham
Yeah.
passed away, and that maybe has helped you deal with
No
this.
question. About 6 or 7 months before Beckham passed, I was introduced to breathwork. I went to a breathwork class, and I'm like, okay, never gonna miss this ever. And so since then,
What do you love about breathwork?
I mean, it's in my opinion, it is the most powerful way to release the emotions that aren't serving you and replace them with ones that you want. So you replace, get rid of your stress, anxiety, depression, grief, anger, whatever it is, and replace it with light, love, confidence, whatever you want to do. So I'm 100% convinced that I was taught breath work before Beckham passed, because in my process of breathing, I'm a spiritual guy. Like, I believe in God. And so I'm like, okay, I'm in my closet, I'm doing breath work. I might as well kill two birds with one stone. I'm gonna pray while I'm sitting here. And I remember the first time I did it, I got done with my breath work. I'd raised my vibration, and I call upon God, and I'm like, holy dude, you're sitting right here. And so what I learned is, the higher the vibration, the thinner the veil. And so I started to have these conversations where I'm speaking with him and not to him, and it's just awesome. And so Beckham passes away, and it's, as you know, Mason, it's just pure chaos. My family's over at my house. They're trying to console us. I'm trying to console them because that's my personality. And Holly comes into me and says, hey, and Holly's my wife. She's big into breath work, lots of conversations with the other side. She's like, hey, Beckham wants you to go back in the closet and have a conversation with him. Like, he's trying to talk to you, but you're too busy helping other people. And so I go back into my closet and I lay down, and I'm just like, bud, like, what do you, dude? What is going on, man? Like, why? Why? And one of the things that helped me through the beginning stages the most, in fact, the number one, was when I was in it, like when I was in the depths. I would call upon Beck and say, dude, like, how's your day going? Because you know this, man, when your kid dies, when your wife dies, where my heart went is like, okay, what are they doing now? Are they alone? Are they safe? Are they having a good time? What's going on? And so being able to say to him, like, dude, are you okay? And he's like, Dad, this is awesome. It's heaven. It's freaking heaven up here. Like, I don't want to come back. And being able to, when I was in my moments of grief, call upon him and say, dude, like, what have you done today? And I could just, it was almost this, like, he was out of breath because he's up there doing what he loves the most. He's growing, he's learning, he's playing basketball, he's doing all these things. That is what helped me get through my grief better than anything, was just knowing, like, being able to have a conversation with him. And I have this strict routine every morning, every night, and it is centered around speaking to him.
What's your? I do something similar in the morning. Well, I couldn't talk to him for about a year. I just couldn't talk to him without hating everything. I just couldn't.
Sure.
And I also couldn't talk to him because there's just so many. There's 5 of
Yeah.
them. They just spin through my head. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, if I talk to you, then I'm not talking to. And
I don't know how you. Yeah.
So then I finally. So anyway, but I finally started talking to him, and I'm with you. Like, I don't really do it with the breath work like you do. But man, I talk to him when I drive.
Yeah, I don't need the breath work anymore. Oh yeah.
Yeah, when I'm driving, or there's nothing more therapeutic than just, and you feel weird, at least you do at first, and then you just get used to it. But, and then I met this guy named Colin Campbell, and I wanted to have some type of routine to talk to him daily. And so I do it every morning, and it's usually just in my own head, or maybe I have my phone out on my notes, and I just type some, almost like a journal entry.
Yeah.
Just
like what you're learning from them.
Yeah, if
of course.
Just anything that pops in that I feel like I should write down, I will, or maybe I won't write it down. But anyway, I'll just kind of sit there. And if you look at me, it doesn't really look like it. Like, what is this guy doing? He's not.
Yeah.
He's not meditating. He's not.
Yeah.
Well, he's not on his. He's just sitting there. But dude, I think talking to him, man, I think it helps with acceptance.
For sure.
I think what it does for my brain and soul is like, yeah, like by talking to the dead, we are admitting to ourselves that they are dead. And then usually the conversations I have with them, it's pretty rare if they don't tell me, be happy today. Usually they tell me that, and that helps me.
Yep.
But yeah, I do. I just wanted to chime in because I think that daily routine of talking to him is really, I feel like it's just an elephant in the room, this grief stuff.
Yeah.
And if I can just allow my spirit, mind, body to talk about the elephant in the room, then I can go to work, or I can do grocery shopping, or I can function in society again. But it's like, if I haven't talked to him and it's 1:00 in the afternoon, like I'm probably not out of bed yet. Like I'm really struggling.
Yes. Is
that similar to how it's been for you?
It resonates so much. And I've just learned to be very intentional with grief. And my process is, part of it is breath work, and then I have this really cool routine with my son who passed, and some of my other family members that have passed. It's awesome. And then I go through my whole morning routine with my reading and all that stuff, and then I come back into my closet and I set my timer for 10 minutes, and I'm going there, man. Like my favorite videos of him, I turn on his favorite songs. Like,
man, you're watching videos of him already.
Going there.
Dang, dude.
It's intentional. Like, the point of it is to take it as deep as I can go. Because again, I feel like you got to feel it to heal it, and it's one of my favorite parts of the day, because I feel like it's my opportunity to show some respect to him.
Yeah,
But if I haven't done it, it affects my day. It really does, and so that's part of my routine. And then at night, to your point, I set a timer for 30 minutes. I pull out my notes on my phone. And I say, okay, dude, what are you teaching me today? I always start by saying, what'd you do today? I love hearing about his day. It's freaking awesome. And he'll say, I learned this. And I'm like, oh, tell me more about this. And he'll teach me a principle like I learned a couple of days ago. There's no concept of time in heaven. It's all it is concept of progress. So those are the types of things that I learn all the time. And then it's like, okay, now when it comes to the purpose, he did not die for nothing. I could sit here for hours and tell you all the reasons, all these dots that are connecting, and the purpose of it. And so for the rest of 30 minutes, I'm like, you teach me. And I'm every 20 seconds, I'm pulling out my phone and recording what he said. And then I go home every night and I do a voice recording and send it to my family, because that means so much to them. I share it with my wife, but it is the most important and my favorite part of the day.
If you don't mind, can we go back to the day Beckham passed? So what was how did he pass away? Did he drown or?
Yeah, so the record says that he drowned, and like we were talking about before, it's on video. We have a camera that goes.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. Like, how is it watching that?
Horrible.
Especially
I've only watched it once.
Right?
Yeah, I only watched it the one time. I wanted to know for myself, because it's like, dude, this kid's 13. Our pool, was in the we drained it a little bit so they could fix a piece of it, and then fill it back up. So, I mean, he drowned in water that went up to his just above his knees. It's like, dude, this doesn't make any sense. Did he hit his head on the basketball hoop? He was playing hoops in the pool. What happened? So I'm gonna go watch it. It's right there on video. And so I watch it, and I mean, what I know at this point is he went peacefully. I've had this conversation with God and him multiple times. He went peacefully. There was no laceration. There was no head. There was nothing. He drowned. And if you watch it, you're like, dude, that's not what it. He kind of passes out, and that's the end of it. But I mean, at this point, after lots of conversations with him and God, like, he just went as peacefully as possible. And honestly, Mason, if you like look at all the dots that connected the night before and the morning of, it's like, okay, that makes, yeah, okay.
What happened the night before?
I mean, the night before is him and his sister didn't have the best relationship, and
his sister's older.
She's a couple years older, 5 years older, and that night, they would have this fight that would have just been the end of it, and she came up to him and said, "Hey, Beck, I'm really sorry. Like, I haven't been a very good sister. Like, can you forgive me?" And for her, bro, that was like, if they would have ended on the note, like a different note, it would have devastated her. And the progress she's had since Beckham's passing is unbelievable. And she'll tell you that a huge part of that is like she got to close that circle with him the night before. His brother's 18 is the one that has all the seizures. Dude, Boston has a twin bed, and Beckham's like, "Hey, can I sleep with you tonight?" They didn't never sleep in the twin bed together, so they spent the whole night together.
Wow.
He got to be by his side 10 days earlier for 4 days straight. Like, just these things with his stepbrother and him had always had these they battle each other on the basketball court, and they just in some ways it was just this wedge. And just, a couple days before Beckham passed, they were playing basketball, and instead of fighting, Beckham was teaching him how to shoot a jump shot. And then that night they went and slept at Crew's dad's house. So my wife's ex-husband, they slept in the same bed together and just had this. So they were able to close up their relationship the day before he passed. We spent the entire day, him and I on the football field, doing what we love the most. We're driving home, and I'm like, bro, I'm just so proud of you. Like, you're freaking such a stud. That's so important to me. So just so many dots connecting before he passed.
Yeah. How do you help your kids and your wife that are mourning as well?
Yeah.
And man, you're very man, what's even the word? Like, you've embraced this thing very well, very with lots of positivity.
Sure.
Do your kids feel the same way, or is it different for them? How's that been?
Great question. I think it starts with when I'm in my closet. Everybody, if you're in the house, you hear it. Dude, I'm going there, man. Like,
You're crying.
Oh, dude, like it's the deepest sorrow, and that comes in the form of, yes, crying very, very loudly.
How often do you think you do that?
Every day.
Every day?
Every single day.
Man, I used to do that every day too, and I probably do it. Not like it even fucking matters, but I probably do it like twice a month now.
And I think that's
no, yeah.
Probably good.
You're 7 months. I'm 3.
Yeah.
What am I? 3.5.
Yeah.
There's just a
Sure.
journey. There's a journey there
For sure.
Yeah, it used to be every day for me, and now anyway, keep going.
No, and every single day, and that set the tone for them. Like, if you're feeling it, we hold a safe place for you.
Have you ever gone through a phase where you can't cry yet, or not? You're just crying every day still.
No, I actually.
I just remember hitting this phase of like, And I
There's no
felt bad
tears
I
left.
couldn't cry. I'm like,
No.
why can't I'm not even crying anymore.
No, and there's a that 10-minute time span where I'm because usually I lay down and it's on, but there's been a couple like 2 to 3 minutes. I'm like, dude, tears aren't coming, and then I'll turn on like his funeral, and it's just like
Yeah, you can't control.
real
that.
easy to get there.
So is that when you do this 10-minute thing? Is that what you're looking at? You're pulling out photos and videos and just kind of sending yourself through it.
Yep.
It sounds completely awful, but there is this. You're right. Like grief. What am I trying to say? After I'm done crying, I feel better.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's easier for me to be happy, and it's okay to be happy.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but like. Kind of like the feeling after you get done throwing up, or you just did a really hard workout at the gym and you're just kind of feeling good about, like, those are similar feelings to it. But yeah, I think it helps, man. And I think what a lot of people do is that wave of complete pain and crying and feeling awful. A lot of men try to push back or bury or skip it and just no. And then when it comes back the next time, it's bigger. And you push it down, and eventually,
yeah. I think that's why you feel better after, because you're letting it out.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I that resonates.
I think with you though, like you seem to have it like planned, like like, and I don't have my emotions that well in tune. Like they're kind of come and go as they please. I'm not dialed in. Like I can't. Are you like, hey, we're gonna wake up at 10 a.m. and cry? Is that kind of what you're doing?
So
because that's something I can't really do that.
Sure. So it was my therapist that was like, when you grieve, it could be 20 times a day. Set an alarm. Don't go past 10 minutes, because as you know, you could sit in it for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, all day.
Yeah.
And so the importance is shifting the perspective after 10 minutes. And so as of right now, I have this routine. It starts at 5:15 and it goes until about 8 o'clock. And then at about 8 o'clock, I go back. So it's about the same time. It's not 8 o'clock. It's like when I'm done with all these other things, it's right before I get in and do my cold plunge, because I want to grieve. And then I want to go take a cold plunge so that it can kind of like release those emotions, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, and then there's other times trickled throughout the day where it's like, dude, I'm feeling it. And I go into my truck, or I go into the bathroom at work or whatever it is. And I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
And people at work, dude, like, I don't care. And at this point, like, it's been, man, like, I'm sure you've heard people come to you like, thank you for allowing me to hold that space for you while you're in the bathroom, just losing it. So at this point, like, when it comes, I'm going there.
I had a question for you and then I forgot. But it'll come back to me.
While you're thinking about it, what have you done now that you have the 5 people? Because see, I say easy with one. Nothing's easy, but how have you done that? Because you've got these. Is it a group conversation? Is it like start with you, go through each one?
Yeah, so me and my therapist Matt, we use IFF. What is it, Ryan? IFS therapy. What is it, Ryan? Internal family systems. Anyway,
it's just a modality of therapy.
Yeah, it's just like no bad parts. Anyway, all this to say that my therapist is like, see, now I forgot the question. Oh yeah, okay. My therapist is like, hey, let's just talk to the anger guy today, or let's just talk to the guy who wants to die today, or let's talk to the guy who wants to drink it. The problem, and we talk to these different parts of me that are handling grief. And I've used that to talk to my family, because what I've learned through therapy with Matt is we ask all the other parts to step away, and we're appreciative of them, and we'll talk to them, but we're just going to talk to anger right now. And that's what I've done with my family.
Yeah.
Like, Frankie Riggins, I love you so much. I miss you every day. I'm just going to talk to your mom right now. I just need to talk to her. And that just kind of helps me have no shame and guilt and just talk to Courtney for a little bit because I've explained it to them, and that helps with my guilt.
Even though your kids are like, dude,
right. And same thing with Race and Ryder.
Sure.
And then another thing that's helped is we got gifted this gorilla, this grief gorilla, and the big gorilla represents Courtney, and then there's 4 baby gorillas that represent Riggins, Frankie, Race, and Ryder.
Mm-hmm.
And we just talk to them, and they're supposed to be like a mediator. So whatever you tell the grief gorilla, they can hear. And me and Blue, that's another thing that kind of helps us just talk to them and send them individual messages.
That's cool, man.
But yeah, I mean, there's parts of me that's mad that we had a group funeral. Like, I wish we could have done 5 different funerals. Like, they all deserve their own thing.
Yeah.
But those are some things that have helped me, is just talking to them like, hey, like, I'm just going to talk to Race right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I love you guys, but this is a Race moment, a race day. And it seems weird or corny or tacky, but it's really helpful.
No,
it's something that's really helped me.
And you know what I've learned, man, and maybe you've recognized this, like, your kids, my son, the people that have passed, they absolutely love when we converse with them. They love it, dude. They absolutely love it. And I've seen, I have experiences every day where other angels are coming in, and they're just, since their family's not talking to them, second best to them is hearing me talk to my son. It's freaking awesome. And so just the fact that you talk to them is unbelievable. It's special, dude. It's special. And even like, we have these things go through our mind where it's like, okay, I'm not talking to you today, I'm talking to mom. Obviously your kids don't need to hear that. You feel like you have to say that, but the fact that you have those conversations is not weird. It's freaking special, dude. And like, I don't know if you've ever sat with this and felt the fact that is so special to them. It's so amazing.
I know it's I think you're right. I think it is special to them, and I think the way I know that is it's so special to me. Like, it just helps me. And then I just think when Blue hears me talk about him, it does so much great things for him, especially when I'm talking to Sammy, and I'm talking to Sammy about a Courtney story, and Blue's just witnessing all that. I just think that's beautiful.
It's
like,
amazing.
he's able to watch Sammy.
How old's Blue now?
He's 7. But he's just able to watch, like, Sammy accept this type of love and what she's doing for us. And then it's just, I think it's,
that's
if
cool.
you can talk about him, I think that not solves, but I think that helps with a lot of issues of grief.
Absolutely.
Is if you can just talk about him.
Absolutely.
Another thing, I wanted to ask you this because I was trying to explain to Sammy, like, how I feel. I wish I could die today, but like, I love my life too. Like, I'm so happy. And so I'm just trying to explain, and the way I explained it was July 25th, 2021, when they died. Okay, well, let me back up. I did this speaking event with my therapist, and I spoke first, and my therapist, Matt, spoke second. And part of his thing, he asked a question to the crowd, and he asked, what's the greatest moment of your life? And without hesitation, I went right to July 25th, 2021. Like, not even close.
Yeah.
And that was weird. I'm like, why did that happen? Like, that was the worst day of my life. But I think it was the greatest in terms of the amount of love I felt, obviously connected and followed with the amount of pain and loss. And just so many people. But like, that day, I was just stretched I was just stretched out so far. And it's just weird to be in a world where there is nothing, there's nothing I experience on a daily basis that gets me anywhere close to being stretched that far.
Ever. Yeah.
Unless maybe it's podcasting and talking about other people's pain where you're
Sure.
just kind of feeling it
Sure.
again through talking about it. But like, I just think there's something to that. And I think that's what's hard for me to kind of have a strong desire to do simple things that used to be easy for me to do. Like it just like I just
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
and that's just the best way I could explain it to her. I don't know if that's making any sense, but
Makes total sense. Yeah.
what has that been like for you? Like you lost Beckham, nothing's gonna come close to pushing you like that.
Yeah.
Like how are you able to stay grounded day to day and be like a good person and citizen still with just like
Yeah.
nothing comes close to that?
Yeah. You're 100% right, dude. The greatest day of my life will be May 26th, 2024. I have a couple theories here. One, for as far back as you pull the elastic band of grief, sorrow, whatever you're going through, obstacle is as far as it can. It's in direct proportion with as far as it can fling forward. So, for as painful as that day was, the things that I've seen since, it's just unbelievable. And I told you I've been really big into. We write our own stories. I believe. I believe we choose the characters. We write our own stories. So I've been writing my story for 15, 16, 17 years. And as part of that story, I've always said, I'm going to change the world. And I never thought in my wildest dreams that my son passing would be the strongest way to do that. And so what just drives me is I know that he passed. I know that he passed when he was supposed to, how he's supposed to. I've been through all that. I've had a conversation with him 100 times, and now it's just like, okay, we're going to change the world, and I get to do it. One of my sayings is 1 + 1 = 3, which is one guy on earth, one guy in heaven, and together we're so much more powerful. And at this point, I get to. I had the most amazing relationship when he was here on earth. It's never been better. My relationship with him has never been stronger. And that's beautiful. And now we get to work together. He was 13 years old. He was freaking spitting Louis on people at 13. Now we do business together. We do spirituality together. We do education together. We do everything together. I get to do it with him, and that's what's such a driving force for me.
Yeah. Anything else with your? I mean, it's been only 7 months, dude. I can't believe that for you. But anything else you'd tell listeners and anyone struggling with grief? Like, what else about your 90% before we get to movies?
Yeah, man. I think that you lose someone or you're going through grief, and people often, they probably said this to you. Oftentimes, people are like complaining about something, and they're like, dude, I don't know why I'm complaining to you. You have it way worse.
Yeah.
And my response is always like, no, dude, your stuff is your stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff I was going through before Beckham passed away, it was deep stuff. It was hard stuff. But I do feel like you have one of two choices. You learn the lesson and you use it as an opportunity to do good in the world. Like, think of what you can. Dude, you've been through what no one else could ever imagine. It puts you in this place that really not too many people have ever been. And because you pulled that elastic band was pulled so far back on you, further than I've ever seen, what you're able to do with that, the impact and what you're able to do with the world is what you're doing is unbelievable. And so, what I would tell your listeners is, man, grief is so beautiful. It's so beautiful because it means you love the person, like, man, it would suck if I didn't. feel this way.
If it didn't hurt, it would be a sociopath.
Yeah, dude, and it meant you were a great dad, and
Yeah.
you were a great husband, and you were doing such great things. Like, I'm so glad that I go there every day. That's a beautiful
No,
thing.
I think love and pain is the same. It's the same thing. It's the same string.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you literally can't have. I mean, that's the whole thing I learned about grief too. Is like talking about them is so hard and so painful. But then I get to remember them. I get to remember the Would You Rather games we played before bed, and trying to pop Frankie's toes, and trying to teach Riggins how to shoot a jump shot in the back.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if I run, I mean, I've said it so many times on this podcast, but I think it's so true. Is like, it's the same thing, man. Like, the pain and that's actually one reason why I kind of struggle with the whole heaven thing. Is like, there's got to be pain there, or else the joy can't exist for me. Because I think it's the same thing. But I think you're so right, man. But accepting, like, I think acceptance isn't the pain goes away, or it actually gets worse.
Yeah.
That's like where you feel it. Like, my days of acceptance are usually days crying and being really mad, like, or wanting to die. Like, I think a lot of people confuse acceptance with like how good their day to day. Like, has he accepted it now? Like, well, he's getting to his job on time, and he's like, I think he's like, but like, I think acceptance actually brings the most misery, but with it comes like, you have the most control over it. You're able to turn that misery, and this is kind of what you're talking about. Like, what are we going to do with it? That I guess that's the whole 1090 thing.
Yeah.
Like, what are we going to do with this thing? But I think that's what, like, if you're expecting it to hurt less because you're trying to accept it, that's not how it's been working for me.
No.
Like, it hurts bad.
Yeah.
But it allows me to start a podcast. It allows me to try to help people. It allows me to be a good father to Blue again. Because I'm feeling it and leaning into it versus running away.
One of my biggest mentalities in this process is I heard the story of the buffalo and the cow from you.
That's a good one, huh?
Dude, and to be honest with you, it's played through my mind so many times since he passed away. So, okay, all right, dude, there's a storm. It's massive. It's never been, I've never had a worse storm.
And you didn't ask for the storm?
No.
So you didn't deserve the storm.
Yeah. So how am I running into it? Like, what are the ways that I'm going to win every day? And what are the ways that I'm going to go straight into the storm? Well, I'm going to take grief head on. I'm going to be intentional with it. I'm going to take it as deep as I can. That's my purpose. I'm going to be outwardly vulnerable with anyone who wants to see men, women, children, because vulnerability is masculinity. Like, I'm going to show people, like, that was my guy, you know? So how can I go right into the storm? Well, those are the ways I'm going to live his legacy. I'm going to do everything that I can to teach what he taught. Like, that's how I go into the storm. And so that story has helped me get through. So isn't that, dude, if we just look for the dots that are connected, so small dot to your family passing, you helped someone else through a story on one of your podcasts get through his. I mean, dude, there's just so many things, and hopefully people that have had someone pass, you're paying attention to the dots connected because they're everywhere. I've just got to a point, if I see a number 13, which is favorite number, I'm like, hey, dude, what's happening?
Yeah.
It'd be really easy to be like, coincidence. I'm like, dude, what's up, man? I see you. Like, I'm going there. Like, I'm automatically thinking, that's you. Because that's, first of all, it is. And there's just so many beauties to the passing of your family. And that's so unfair to say.
No, you sound like my therapist.
Yeah.
When he's like, this is an opportunity for you. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah, of course, dude. Like, yeah, for sure. But that's just trying to head right into the storm.
But that's yeah, that's true for anyone. Like, life's so and that's the other thing that took me a while to realize was because grief makes you so selfish, and you just can't even. Like, it took me so long to realize, like, oh man, like my parents are probably hurting really bad, and my brothers and my in-laws, and like they're probably, and they've been they're the ones that have been helping me. And so like it took me months to even realize. But I do think eventually you come around like, man, this is life for everyone. Like everyone is hurting, and it's not good. And one thing we can do is talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think talking about it brings us that community that you're not alone. And if you talk about it, then you can start figuring out some changes to make and good things to do about it.
For a lot of men, we're supposed to be the calm, just to put our heads down. And right before you passed, I'd done a lot of work in like what's masculinity, and man, like men for the most part don't talk about their shiz. They suppress it, and it just shows up in all the wrong ways. And so, yeah, dude, everybody's going through their own stuff. Everybody.
Yeah.
What are we going to do about it? It happened. We can't stop it. It's not going away. So what are you going to do to see the beauty in it? You know,
it's so simple, but it just might work.
Ooh. Yeah.
I love how much you talk to Beckham, because sometimes I feel crazy. Like I just talk to dead people all day.
Awesome.
Like
it's amazing.
Anything else before we do movies?
No, man. Like,
yeah, I feel good about it.
Life is good, man.
Head into the storm.
So
what would we say heading into this? So talk about it, cry about it, and feel it. How else do you head into the storm? I think those are two big ones. And then
instead of focusing on the pain, focus on the purpose.
Yeah.
Again, like people that pass away. Heaven's heaven, man. They're freaking growing. They're learning. They're in a great place. So I can focus on the pain, like, oh my gosh, he's gone, or I can focus on he's living his freaking best life. And now we have this purpose. It got pulled back really far. So what are we doing? How do we spring it forward, right? And so I think another way to run the storm is, instead of focusing on the pain, focus on the purpose. Why? Like, dude, when you walk into a room, like it's undeniable of like the presence that you have. I'm going to listen to every word that you say, whether my son had passed away or not. So there's so many. Our community has come together. Our kids are stronger. There's just like I've been able to like avoid bad decisions in business because he's like, no. Instead of going here, go here. And it's just like, dude, like if I didn't take the time to talk to him and instead did it the opposite way, which, dude, I don't judge anyone, man. If you lose someone, you can do it however you want. You've earned that right. For me, it's like going into the storm is finding the purpose instead of the pain.
I like it. So talk about it, cry about it, find the purpose.
Yeah.
There you go. That sums up the podcast a little bit. Movies.
Yes.
Do you want to throw out some that Beckham liked real quick?
Dude, Beck's our favorite movie together was Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, man.
Big
Our
into
pets'
Dumb and
heads are
Dumber.
falling off.
That was his favorite movie. Mine too. I also love Shawshank Redemption and Gladiator. Those are my faves.
Wait, what was before Shawshank?
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Dude, you just like threw out some classics way too quick. Shawshank and then Gladiator.
Gladiator, yeah.
And Dumb and That's a good list right there.
It's a good variety, man.
Is that your top three or Beckham?
Those are my top three. What are yours?
Oh, man. Dude, I just watched Office Space last night for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
I forgot how good that movie is. Office Space is
I don't know if I've
funny.
never seen that.
Give it a watch.
Okay.
It's so good. So I'll do Office Space. I'll do Wedding Singer.
Okay.
And I'll do 300. Why the
That's a
hell
great one, dude. That's a great one.
real quick about 300. Like, because we all want to be like Leonite. Like, we want 300.
Yeah. It's one of my tattoos, actually.
If you watch that movie, like the first scene, if you're not a good enough baby, they throw you off a cliff. So like, we're not gonna have it.
Yeah.
We're not creating those men because we don't do that. And we don't want to like, it was just funny to me. Like this generation of warriors is over because
Dude,
the fire is not like this anymore.
that's in my top 5. That's a great show.
Yeah, it was a good one, dude. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Beckham, if you see my kids up there, say hello. Or wife,
Party.
or brother, or nephew. Life's 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're going to do about it.